You're not shy enough to take pictures. I sometimes have to filter some of them.
What makes it? It's not like it's a cottage. It's not like it has the ours, they just got a grant. Which is one of the reasons we had money when I was.
Yeah, no, I saw that.
So that's the only thing about the house, we planted this farm lot. Not the back. Tony or just the
The whole
corner?
house.
Oh.
Piece of the facade.
Is that the one that wasn't for a while? the corner?
Yeah, they
A
had
big
this-
two-story thing?
Yeah, they-
I know what you're talking about.
And it all came down last week.
Really?
And like, not really, not.
But the reason we wanted, the reason we wanted to. Okay, I saw it. It was like two corners, two opposite doors.
Okay, I'm gonna be doing town. Oh,
It isn't
perfect.
It's not church, you can come over to the front.
Jordan.
All right, it's 6:30. Come on in. So I guess we'll try and get started here. My name is Dick Haskell. I'm with the Wantman Group. We are the consulting engineers retained by the city to manage the roadway program. Jennifer Hoffmeister with the Wantman Group is with me tonight with us. She's going to take notes and film, which, by the way, if you didn't know, if you could go on the website, lakeworthroads.org.com. You can see the videos of all the meetings that are going on.
So if any of your neighbors missed the meeting,
Yeah.
they can
If
access.
your neighbors miss a meeting, you can just channel them to that website, and they can watch the video. Okay, also with us tonight, Lisa Stone and Steve Orr, thank you, from Kimley Horn. They're the consulting engineers for
J Street.
this piece of J Street, right?
Yeah, just
Okay.
3rd Avenue. to
J Street from 3rd to 8th. I'm going to be doing what they're doing from 3rd to 8th for the rest of this because we had another engineer do that and these meetings weren't in the scope, so I drew the short straw. So the purpose of the meeting this evening, we've already had a first meeting, I think, on both of these areas. The purpose of the meeting this evening is to basically come back to you and show you what you're going to end up with. We've taken the input from you at those first meetings. So, I mean, some people in some of the neighborhoods were concerned about speed reduction, parking, landscaping, streetscaping, things like that. Which is the kind of input that we were looking for. So now we've taken that input and we've done what we could to factor it into our plans, to our design plans, and stay within our budget. And what we want to do tonight is give you the opportunity to hear what we ended up with. And at the end of the evening, it'll be a short evening, we've got a couple of sets of plans up here if you're interested in looking where your house is and see what the street improvements are proposed there. We'd be happy to do that for you. So I'm going to turn it over to Lisa now, and she's going to take you through her part of J Street.
Thank you. How many of y'all were at meeting number 1 for any of these projects? Okay, so I'm going to go over a little bit that was in meeting number 1. Again, I'm with Kimley Horn. We are responsible for J Street from 3rd to 8th, and Dick will come up here and talk about the other sections. So one of the first things that we did was a speed study, and we wanted to look here to see if we needed any traffic calming techniques. And this, we can explain it to you afterwards if you want more details, but basically it wasn't necessary in the area. However, we did want to give everybody an opportunity to tell us if they wanted any enhancements for the area. So what we did is we provided this choice board, and we gave everybody 3 dots and said, okay, pick your top 3. And for J Street, what came out was sidewalks, and then bulb outs, and also bicycle lanes. So we had a set of plans that were shown at the first meeting. They were pretty basic. We went back to the drawing board, added some of these enhancements, and that's what we're going to be showing you in the plans today, and same for the other section that we've got. So pretty much, Dick, I don't know what the typical section is for the areas that you're doing. For J Street, what we've got here is we've got a 10-foot lane with a 4-foot bike lane. We will be adding 5-foot sidewalks on each side. And you'll see it's curb and gutter, so there'll be drainage improvements on a lot of these projects too. So construction time frame is...
For this project, probably 4 months.
Yeah, so...
Start
Up to 4 months tops.
I'm sorry, but
Starting?
when is it starting? It's starting
We're going
to bid and...
We're going to advertise this project. They didn't know this tonight. We're going to advertise this project Sunday, not this week, but following Sunday, 23rd. And there's a 2-month process for that advertisement before we can get back to commission. The idea is we want to get the money encumbered this fiscal year, which is the 19th is the last city commission meeting this year. So we're gearing several of the projects for that meeting, and this is one of them. So that would get them started early November. Actually, the ground construction.
Excuse me, so that 2 months is included in that 4 months, or it's 2 months?
No.
plus 4 months?
No. We will establish, sorry, I keep walking back.
Oh, you're talking.
I haven't
We
seen
don't go anywhere.
We will establish a number of days to substantial completion, and then probably usually it's another 30 days to final completion. This is a relatively short project, so it's probably going to have a construction time of maybe 120 days, and then 30 days to substantial completion. So 120 days means you spend that last 30 days basically sweeping the dirt out of the streets. I mean, everything is built at that point. So that's probably the time frame we're looking at on a project this size.
Just for this North J project?
Yes.
The
Well,
rest of
you
it's
can
the
see,
same?
when we get to it, you can see these are much longer. These streets are much longer. And the construction methods are going to be different.
That's pretty much it.
Okay.
The top 3, if I knew more details.
Okay. My turn. Thank you, Lisa. Where's my notes? It's tough coming out of retirement, I'm telling you. Okay, so we're looking at the segment of M Street from Lucerne Avenue up to Wellesley. This is K Street, I think, up to 9th Avenue. I'm sorry, this is your project here. And J Street and 14th to 15th Avenues here. That's that particular project. So it's this, and that, and this is what Lisa just talked to you about. Okay? Essentially, on North K Street from 2nd to 9th, we'll be putting in a new 8-inch water main to boost pressures and fire flow and domestic pressures in the system. There'll be a complete road reconstruction. And we will be including features such as bulb outs at intersections and mid-block speed humps, sidewalks, curbs, and there's a little bit of drainage going in at 9th Avenue on K Street. M Street, which is the much longer section, is going to get a 12-inch water main from up to 13th Avenue. It also will be a road reconstruction project from 2nd Avenue to 15th Avenue. And there will be sidewalks except for, I believe, the stretch between 13th and 16th Avenue. And I think that was something that was brought up with the residents and staff before we came on board. because we did question, why are we not putting sidewalks in here? And we were told that, there was an issue that the residents didn't want them.
You said a road resurfacing for 15?
Reconstruction.
Only to 15?
13.
Water main to 13?
Right.
Water main to
And
13. Road reconstruction to 15.
50.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. And sidewalks, bulb outs, intersections, mid-block speed humps, that sort of thing. From, let's see, 16th to 18th, we were going to mill and resurface that. And we got to looking at, primarily because of budgetary constraints, not just that area, but I mean several different areas, not only this project, but other projects. We went back and took another look at the pavement condition. And the decision was made that for that stretch from 16th to 18th, that we were not going to mill and overlay that because the pavement was in reasonably good condition. There's one spot up towards the north, and I think there's a utility crossing there where it looks like it's been excavated for repairs and it's kind of settled. So we're going to fix that. And then we're going to put speed humps along that block because I know there were speeding issues up there.
So between 15th and 16th, there's nothing happening, if I'm understanding your...
Between 15th and, I think there's a speed number 2 going in there. And
as far as
if there's any
pavement.
curbing or anything else that needs to be repaired, that'll happen too.
Is there
Got
going to
the
be any,
plans here, right?
Yeah. we have
Look at
plans.
is there going to be any speed bumps south of 13th, between 13th and?
Yes. Yes, I believe there are. I can't tell you specifically where they are. You're welcome to come up. We can look at
Okay, thank you.
it. Sure.
Are there any calming circles at any of the intersections? Traffic calming circles?
Roundabouts.
Yeah.
No, we're not using roundabouts right now. We haven't found a good application for them anywhere because the right-of-ways are short. They're only 40-foot right-of-ways.
Okay.
So they're really, a roundabout in that small right-of-way at an intersection really isn't
Just cuts
effective.
out too much.
And the other issue is kind of, in my mind, is kind of safety related because I don't like to see roundabouts used where you have one-way streets crossing two-way streets because it can get confusing. But what we're going to do, again, is we're going to use bulb outs at the intersections, which will slow down traffic at the approach to the intersection. They're also going to provide pedestrian protection for crosswalks at the intersection. They'll provide protection of parking lanes on either side. And they will also provide opportunities for potential streetscaping in the future. So there are other things that we're trying to accomplish with that.
And I'm sorry.
Yes.
One more question. The water mains go on the main street or are they in the alleyways?
No, they're in the streets. They're in the streets. Now, a couple of changes from what you heard earlier. Actually, one major change.
Dick, real quick, I don't want to interrupt you, but just concerning the water mains, your services are not being switched to be connected to this new water main, so you're not having...
Julie's with the city, sorry.
I'm sorry, Julie Park,
She's not
she's
a
the
very-
assistant utilities
Very
director.
educated.
I'm with the water utilities, so I just want
Resident,
to...
yeah.
So
So
say
say
that again?
yeah.
So the water main that's going down your street, your water service for your home is not going to be connected to that. It's more a main to just help boost pressure and provide fire flow to the area circulation. So-
Well, it's going to help reinforce the looping system in the entire neighborhood from Lucerne up to Wellesley, or up to 13th, which should boost your pressure in your house and it should provide additional fire protection.
You guys are already doing some of the Ts, I see, to come to that, right, from the alleys up on by Wall Street. There's been some,
Yeah, that's kind of a separate project where we're replacing a bunch of the 2-inch water mains in the alleys and the services to homes.
is that not a part, it's not a part of this?
It's a separate project, yeah.
How can we find information about that?
You can come talk to me after the meeting. I'll
Okay.
be happy.
Yeah, that's part of the 2-inch water main upgrade program. Yes, sir.
We didn't talk about it on North K. Are they doing the sidewalks on North K as well? Like on J, or?
Okay, I believe so. To 9th Avenue, yes.
To 9th Avenue? So
The
anybody,
end of the project is 9th Avenue on K Street.
so anybody that doesn't have a sidewalk currently will have a sidewalk?
Yes.
Is that correct?
Correct.
And when will that project start on North K?
Well, again, this is one of the projects that we are going to advertise the 23rd. and it'll be that same 60-day process to award bid. So start of construction will probably occur about the same time for the entire project. Now, we're not going to know until we sit down and get a sequence of construction plan from the contractor where he's going to start and on which street he's
Like,
going
for
to start.
example, I mean, you couldn't do J and K at the same time. I would hope.
One of the things that has to be taken into account when the contractor does his sequence of construction plan is traffic circulation and maintenance of traffic maintenance license.
Right.
So that's going to be a priority concern. I did want to recognize Jamie.
Go.
Jamie Brown, he's the Public Services Director for the city.
And then on the, on the resurfacing and whatnot on M Street, the layout of the street's gonna stay the same with the parking lane and the bike lane?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Are there gonna be any additional streetlights added?
Streetlights are not part of the bond program, however, there's always a however, this one's a good one. We've had that comment from a couple of different neighborhoods all over the city, and we're referring those requests to the city's electric utility.
Okay.
And they have been very responsive to coming out and examining the area and doing their surveys to see where lighting would be, beneficial to be added. And they've actually, I think in some of these neighborhoods, actually started.
The letting process for this particular project includes all of these streets you're talking about, or just North J? I was a bit confused.
No, these are all going to get bid.
All
at the
going to
same-
get let at the same time.
at the same time. But you, well, yeah, see now, Kenley's project is right here. We're going to have to coordinate that with the contractors,
So
obviously.
that's what he's saying.
Yeah,
It's not
yeah.
about that.
We're going
Yeah,
to
I
have to
think it's
coordinate
That's
that
two different.
between the contractors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Well,
I
actually,
think
it should be one
I
contract.
think they just want to let the contract this year, then maybe they'll push off the construction until next summer.
He's talking about starting soon. After they award bids.
We've had our marching orders from the city. Get it built. The one thing that I wanted to mention, bike lanes. We originally intended, and actually, if you look at the plans here, you'll see that they show bike lanes, where the existing bike lanes are, they're being reestablished. We had some input from residents. Spoke with the CRA and city staff about it, and the decision was made just recently in the last day or two, for safety reasons. Rather than reestablishing bike lanes, we're going to replace the bike lanes with shared lanes. The reason for that is, and what a shared lane is, it looks like that. Exactly what that is. There's no dedicated striped area trail for a bike, but you'll have these pavement markings at certain frequencies.
No, it's a cat.
Thought somebody brought their pet in.
Mr. Cat.
Somebody likes the idea.
So on the current residential streets, we're going to have striping? And,
You're not going to have a striped bike lane if there's.
no, but you have center lane striping?
You're going to, yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's interesting.
No.
Oh, at the intersections, you're going to have it.
Yeah.
Yeah, at the intersections. you have it. But then you'll have these pavement markings at certain frequencies that let both the bicyclists and the motorists know that they're sharing that lane. The reasoning behind that is, and this happened to me once on Atlantic Avenue, A1A in Delray Beach some years ago. If you're in a dedicated bike lane, which is where you're supposed to be if you're riding a bike, and you're driving next to parallel parking, and somebody swings the door open on you. So that's the primary driving reason for doing this, because it gives the cyclist a little more movement. And he doesn't have to ride right up against the.
Who has the right of way? If you take off the striped bike lanes and you just do the shared lanes, is that gonna happen in all these streets now? So there'll be no more dedicated bike
Wherever
lanes?
there are existing bike
Oh, what existing? Sorry.
lanes. We're not adding bike lanes.
So if there's not a bike lane currently, you're not adding.
Right, correct, correct.
And I know I just recently bought a house here, but I lived in Hollywood, Florida, and we're that city's putting a bunch of money into dedicated bike lanes right now because they were told by FDOT that those were safer.
It's a state,
for bike
that's
lanes.
different.
Yeah.
State.
Well, no, these are in the residential areas too. I mean, they're doing smart streets all over.
Right. they're doing, with the DOT, they're doing new buffered bicycle lanes, you know, that are 7 feet wide, so you've got like a 22, 24-inch buffer, and then you've got the pretty much 5 feet bike lane, so it's a little room from the traffic.
And if I could acknowledge Commissioner Robinson, who has joined us this evening.
Thank you.
Okay, so anyway, that's probably the major change from what you've been seeing today. And again, what you're going to see on these plans, because that decision was made last night. With that, are there any other questions?
Okay, I live on M Street, but I live between 7th and 8th, and I cut, because of the one-way streets, I cut through 8th to go down L to get towards town. And L Street looks pretty good, that's why it's not on the list, but between 7th and 8th, it's a disaster. I don't understand why it's not on just that one block. That's next to where the school is. I don't understand why that's not on the list.
Let's look.
I asked that
From
same
8
question
tonight
because I live on
on.
M Street, right in that same block. So
Uh-huh.
the last meeting, not part of this project, but there were some folks there that said that there was some other funding that wouldn't be able to address little small sections like that. I don't know if that's real or not,
Yeah.
but that's the statement that was made at the first meeting.
Which roadway are we asking
There
about?
is
L Street between 8th and 7th.
8th and 7th.
North, obviously North Rome.
There's some that are in the other following years.
That's just a movie.
I'm blind. You want to take a look at the?
Also, if I may, Brian
Just
Shields,
the
who's our
overall.
Water Utilities Director, has joined us this evening.
Good evening, everybody.
In any event,
On the left, okay, all right.
yeah, I believe what you were told was there may be some other funding sources available at that time that we can address those streets that maybe just barely didn't make the cut.
Oh, this one would make the cut, it's
PCI.
just not a big enough stretch or something, I don't know.
Yeah, and
It's
actually,
horrible.
I couldn't actually tell you. It was supposed to be based on the PCI with the pavement commission basis for the individual street. But again, there's the potential for additional funding coming up outside of the bond to deal with that.
Two questions.
Sure.
One going with the lights, and I understand some of the utilities. For example, in one of my properties, I have two properties on one street. One of the properties I have they put a wooden pole with one of those new LED lights on.
Okay.
It's not really aesthetically pleasing when I have a 1908 cottage. Do we have a decision on, or if
What
can I
type of
buy my
style of
own
lighting?
pole? Because 2 blocks down, I have another house down further, but 2 blocks down from that, on the opposite side, they have a beautiful concrete sculpted pole with a acorn light on it in front of the house. And I didn't want to be a nosy neighbor and walk up and say, hey, but
Yeah, that would be a question for the folks over at the electric utility.
Yeah, we'll get that information to them if you leave your address.
yeah, I
Make sure they
wrote
check
on
it
the
out.
comment.
Okay.
Part. Okay, now the second part is, when you do get the approval and you do get your monies and you have a start date and you notify residents, are residents going to have access? Because are we going to have to park in the back? I mean, what's our access to getting in and out with the, because I understand it's going to be torn up, and there's, like, my neighbor, she's 84, so I told her she can park behind one of my houses, but what are these people?
The contractor is going to be responsible for maintaining access to properties off work hours. So the only limitation on your access may be, if you're at home during the day when work's going on, or if you go home for lunch or whatever, there may be, depending on what stage of the construction is in and where it's at, there may be a restriction. There shouldn't be any road closures. There may be flagmen for lane closures. But yeah, we're going to do the very best we can to prevent, or at least minimize any interruptions to access. I mean, obviously it's probably going to be rock for a while, because they'll go in there and they'll do the roads in stages.
We've got rock on some places around here, so.
Yes,
Will the contract include either incentives for getting done early or penalties for late?
Incentives, no. Penalties, yes. The contract language for all of the bond projects is going to have a $500 per day liquidated damage fee after final completion. So if the final, say it's a 120-day project, and it's another 30 days to final. So if he gets to a point in 120 days, he's not quite done yet, he's got another month to get there. If he doesn't get there, then on that 151st day, $500 a day starts accumulating.
Things like when they go to put the mailbox, the sidewalks in, like if there are mailboxes and stuff like that, are they gonna relocate them for us, and
Yes.
all that'll be taken care of?
When they're putting in the new water main, are any of the other utilities using that time to take advantage of the excavated street? Like AT&T and some of their, they're doing that in some parts of the state where they're taking advantage of roads being pulled up.
Our consultants have coordinated with all of the cable utilities, all of the underground utilities in the area. We haven't had any indication that any of them have any plans to come in and do anything. We're obviously going to need to know where they are or where they're going to be so we can avoid them.
It's all
A lot
area.
of, it's in the
AT&T's in there, Comcast is in there, gas is in the alleys.
It's sometimes getting kind of challenging going around. Yes, sir.
So the sidewalks are gonna be replaced, the older coming up and news going down, or they're just gonna be patched?
No, they're going to be, depends on the condition of the sidewalk, and I think most of the areas here, and again, we may go back and take a second look at it, because if the sidewalk is really, if the sidewalk is in good structural condition, but maybe it's just dirty, with mold or whatever that grows on it, it doesn't make a lot of sense to, spend money to pull it up and replace it, unless it's maybe one flag of sidewalk and a bunch of torn up sidewalk. So right now, I think the plans do show for all of the sidewalk to be replaced. Again, for budgetary reasons, we may take another look at that. I mean, you're going to end up with complete good sidewalks.
So in that, along that same way, will there be something done? There's several places in all these streets where the hedges from the residents have exceeded the back of the sidewalk. Will that be cleaned up, or will they?
Well, if the sidewalk's being replaced, it's going to have to be, because the contractor needs it. And they may trim them, if there's an encroachment there.
Sorry to ask, I'm doing, because my neighbors know that I get nosy. I have neighbors that are gonna ask me questions.
This is why we're here.
What about curb cuts for like existing driveways?
They'll be replaced.
Can they get them enlarged? Like the neighbor that's next, she has one spot.
You mean with the project without paying a permit fee, is that what you're saying?
Well,
So
no, I mean,
the plan is to
she has an
replace all of the.
existing curb cut,
Yeah, all
and
the
she didn't
existing
know
curb
if
cuts.
she could get a little bit bigger, like 4 more feet, because when she gets out of her car now, she gets out into the dirt, and so we put in brick pavers for her to walk up. I mean, she's 84,
If there's a specific issue and it's not something that's going to extraordinarily impact the budget, I'm sure we'll work with them.
Rather me her ask than her ask.
Yes, sir.
I asked this at the last meeting, and I still don't feel very comfortable with the answer from this meeting. So, is North K gonna be torn up, from 2nd to 9th at one shot? Or are they gonna do it in sections, or?
A typical roadway project goes in stages of activity. So what will probably happen is they're probably going to go through, and again, they have to maintain access, drivability and access.
Right.
So they may start at one end and start scraping the asphalt off for the whole length, and then go back to the beginning and start excavating the base and replacing the base in subgraded stages to the point where they can put it back and go straight down the street like that. So, again, there may be interruptions because, or flagmen, if you will, to accommodate that process, because they're probably not going to want to open up more than they can do in a day.
Well, that's why I asked, because living around 11th, North 11th, was a disaster when they did that. And that was a small section of road, I thought, relatively
6 months,
speaking.
8 months? I
That
don't
was
know.
that a water main upgrade?
Sewer replacement.
Sewer replacement.
Much different ballgame. The complete
I'm sure
cut.
it is, but you know, that stands out in my mind, that if that took so long and that was such a disaster for such a long period of time, when you're talking about a much longer street, is this going to be worse? I mean, I really thought when we went to that last meeting that a lot of this stuff was already going to be decided, and that I had the impression that work was going to actually start at the end of the summer. And, you know, now we're talking about maybe squeezing it in before the end of the year. So that kind of concerns me a little bit, as does the fact that maybe K and J are going to be torn up at the same time, or portions of K and M or K, M, and J are going to be torn up at the same time, which would be a disaster. So,
But again, that is all going to, those sequences of construction are all going to have to be eliminated for the exact reason. Yep. And by all means, we have a website, we have a hotline. If at any time during construction, you guys see an issue with that, listen, we're going to, the engineers are going to have inspectors out there a great deal of the time, so they're going to be watching the contractor and helping to coordinate that type of issue. But if you see anything that you feel is an issue, or anything that you feel is not being done adequately in terms of circulation of traffic, or particularly in terms of access, by all means contact us.
Getting back to the 11th Avenue, and I don't want to beat this to death, but were there issues with that? Without getting too much, were there issues as to why it took so long? Was the contractor fined because it took so long? Or were there any kind of fail-safes in there that just went wrong? Why and why should we feel that it's not going to happen with the project that's 10 times the size of it?
Well, because that project was done by an underground contractor. That was a sewer job.
Okay.
So paving is not their specialty.
I'm not talking about the pavement, I'm talking about the whole project,
Yeah.
from start to finish.
So actually on the underground work, they did a good job, but the paving took a long time, a very long time, to get the final restoration done. And again, that's when you have an underground contractor leading the charge. In this case, we're talking about a road project, so we're going to have roadway contractors that specialize in roadway work. They'll subcontract that out, but it's a much lesser portion of the project. That project on 11th was primarily a sewer job, gravity sewer job, deep sewer. So it was more geared towards an underground utility contractor than it is a paving contractor. So they had issues with their paving subcontractor. It took a long time. We did have a lot of disputes with that contractor on the job, just so you know.
Well, it doesn't give me a warm fuzzy
Yeah.
when we're going to a project that's,
Well, the primary
exponentially
difference-
larger.
The primary difference, as Brian suggests, is that these projects, the primary contractor is a roadway contractor.
Right.
So yes, he will have an underground contractor in there putting in the water mains and what little bit of drainage that we'll probably be adding. How deep was that sewer?
11 feet, 12
11
feet.
feet. Okay, so we're not going to be digging anywhere near that deep.
old brick. I understand
Yeah.
that. The coordination.
That's a good
job.
It's the coordination,
And
right.
that's the concern.
And in that case, you've got an underground contractor who is the prime contractor, so he's got his work, and he's moved on to the next job. Is he really going to say, is he really going to get?
I don't care that you guys didn't coordinate, it's just not done, that's what I'm trying to.
Right. No, I don't,
We're going to cover that better here so that won't happen.
yeah, I don't foresee that problem, but again, don't feel shy about contacting us. I mean, this whole program is about you guys, it's not about doing this weekend. Yes, ma'am.
I realize I arrived late, and I'm sorry if you covered this. On the board up there, I see that you have palm trees. You don't have any shade trees. Are you going to have any canopy trees installed, or is it going to be, is that just something you were polling people, because I see the green dots?
Actually, yeah, this was part of the input device that we use. This is Kimley's project.
Okay.
Where am I?
For J Street, from
J
3rd
Street.
to 8.
From 3rd to 8th. And this was an exhibit that was populated by the folks that came to the first meeting on this. Basically showing where their top 3 priorities were.
I didn't know there was a first meeting, I didn't get that notice, I did get this one, I'm on M. Is there gonna be a meeting on M, or
This is it.
this is it?
There
I
was-
know it's
there
on
was
invited to
everything.
the first-
I didn't
There
get
was
the
a
notice
meeting
for the
on
first
that.
meeting.
There was
either.
a meeting on
We
it?
didn't get, I think it was.
I think it- my renters
No, I
got
didn't
it.
get
I'm on
that
M
one
Street,
Put it in
so-
there.
M Street, and I can help out.
I will apologize for that. These are the first 2 streets that we did meetings with, so it was kind of an evolutionary process from that point. We're doing things a little differently now than we were doing then. I think they were back-to-back meetings towards the end of February, I think we're doing.
It was in February,
Yeah,
Is there,
a Tuesday and a Wednesday night.
yeah.
any way I can find out what M's gonna look like? Or is it too late to comment?
Yeah, actually, when we've answered all the questions here, you're welcome to come up.
Okay.
And we've got some plans here that you're welcome to look at. You can find your house and find your street.
Okay.
And
It really does help when you get up there and take a look
yeah,
at
and
the
we'll
actual
see
plan.
what's being planned.
Great.
And unlike the request on the J Street where people are asking for bicycle lanes, now all bicycle lanes are going to be shared lanes.
Correct.
Okay, this is citywide.
Yes. From this point forward.
And you mean shared, like what's shown on that cross-section there?
Yeah, basically what happens is, where there's a bike lane, you'd have 2 stripes right here.
Okay.
So this stripe comes out, so it's not actually a stripe off an actually dedicated bike lane. And these pavement markings go in farther out into the roadway, into the pavement,
Okay.
to warn both the cyclists and the drivers, the vehicle drivers, make them recognize that it is a shared lane. And they need to pay attention to each other. And again, the reason for that, for those of you that just came in, was to, it's becoming more of a concern with bike lanes that are dedicated bike lanes that run next to parallel parking, where people drive down the bike lane, somebody puts a car in front of them. And they call these sharrows, they have a term for it, it's called sharrows. But what that does is it gives the cyclists a little more room to ride in the street and actually share that lane with the vehicle traffic.
And it's really for areas that the roadway width is limited.
Right.
You have narrow roadways, so to have a dedicated bike lane, and that is significant enough to feel protected with sharing it with a car, it's just not feasible in these locations. And it's common all over the United States, that's why they call it Sharrow. And it's really for local roads, it's not going to be on main highways.
Anything else? Yes, sir.
So you're saying the work is mostly going to be from 10 towards the downtown? Is that the impression I got? North 10, heading towards the downtown, or are you going to be doing work from North 10 out to 16?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The work is going to involve J Street here and here, K Street here, and M Street all the way up to Wilson.
So are you redoing the entire road? Or are you going to take it out and redo it?
In most areas, yes. Most areas here, yes.
M is only getting resurfaced till 15.
It's reconstruction.
So does everybody need to move their vehicles when that happens? Is that how that works?
There will be points of time, well, again, the contractor is going to be responsible for maintaining access off work hours. So if you're at home when he's working, you may need to move the car around. But if you go to work in the morning and you come home at night, there shouldn't be an issue.
The reason I ask is oftentimes these notices end up in the brush somewhere, you know. In other words, somebody hangs it on the door and then it blows away. So, you know, we don't know. And we don't know we're supposed to be moving our car, so obviously don't want to find our car towed.
We'll be
so-
coordinating that with the contractor. The consulting engineering firms in each district are going to have construction engineering inspectors on the jobs that are also going to be overseeing the contractor, particularly, you know, to help with coordination, those types of issues.
So how
And they
much-
will be making contact, individual contact with all of the homeowners. They'll be on site.
So how much notice would you give somebody? How much notice? 2 weeks?
For what if they have to move their car?
Right. I mean, if you were going to be working on their street.
Oh. Yeah, I would think on the particular, well, on the block, I'm sure it will be more than 2 weeks. You know, at your house, it might only be a few days to a week. You know, it just depends on where they are on the project. And again, we'll get that information from the contractor when he provides his sequence of construction plan. Anyone else? Okay. Well, I want to thank you all for taking the time to come out tonight. Again, I want to emphasize the fact that we do have a program website, lakewoodroads.com. Please visit that. That's going to be your opportunity to keep track of what's happening. We post them. They're not right now, but yeah, we're going to upload PDFs of the plans that you can visit. Again, thanks very much. We appreciate it. And if you want to come up here and take a look at the plan sheet.
I'll go get my copy card and I'll write the address.
Your address is on there? Yes, I can get it so you like your.
Yeah, they buried, about 7 years ago, they did the water line, they did that go underneath, and that was great. And I mentioned that about 7 years ago, if I could put another one out front, and they never got it. And now that this opportunity is here, so we get some extra costs. It's not an issue to have a car, I'll pay the guy who just
Upgraded pole.
yeah, and like it's down the street, it's a concrete sculls.
It's like the ones you used to have on Federal Highway. You know, it's a concrete pole. So you're talking about the decorative pole.
Yeah, it's addictive. I mean, I don't go out and go on the highway and stuff like that. I don't, but I never went down. It's like a sculpt, yeah, they sculpt, and it's just an acorn. And I know that they make better LED acorns everywhere. But, and then the guy who lives in the property next to it.
That'll be like basically what you said.
You go in and it's like $1,500 more.
It wouldn't be that much, to be honest. Yeah.
At this point,
At least let me get it over to electric before so we can get back to the name and everything. Okay, so that's all we have.
I have a question. I'm on M. Survived that 11th mess. Right at the corner. And they did some great problems there, but now there's just a pool water. Like right now after the rains. So just a mosquito breeder.
Oh, I
So they're coming through, so right now that's no sidewalks at all.
Oh, yeah.
So right now, they've got the curb, and then the lawn, and then the street. So does that mean they're coming into the property?
No, they're ready to see it.
I mean, it's hard to tell what's property and because sometimes they just go straight in there.
Right, once the contract is
My neighbor, he put sidewalks in, right next to the curb, whereas we don't, we're like, and then there's a mango,
They'll show right now, they may show training.
was saying about the mailbox there with the sewerage over. Just curious.
That's all they do.
Yeah, I know, I talked to these guys, you know, working, and none of them are from around here.
No.
They're from out of state.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The labor force and stuff.
Right, yeah.
We are moving ahead.
We found out the traffic. That's the caliber of people they
I
have.
know, it's scary, right?
It is
Maybe November. Before the end of the year. They were saying that they're probably not till November.
Oh, you know why? Because that's where you've got 50 million potholes that they have to fill. Because that this floods everything. So how will the
Always is.
because there's no drainage.
I mean, I found in my.
Oh, you're.
Everything all of a sudden people say, spruce up everything. The city just put in new sidewalks and streets and everything. Yeah, I'm gonna do my lawn and my grass or whatever. You find that happens a lot in the neighborhoods.
Sounds like.
Yep.
Yeah. I think that's you. Okay. Other than that, is that what that means?
And it sounds like pretty much speed bumps.
You're getting, aren't you getting?
Yes.
Because Adam, I got major, like they, you know, just go above over to Federal, but no, rather than down our street. I think they don't want to turn, wait for the turn left from M onto Federal, so they turn left on M, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then cut down that way, and they go. It's kind of nice when the construction was there, for one thing, they couldn't go that way, or they just go really slow.
I don't know if there's ever an opportunity to go into some kind of agreement.
Yeah, because I said there's a gap between 50 and 60.
So I have to send that to me. We're gonna do it early, that's not until the end of August, because it started in May, and and we have some meetings in August, like every single week. But that is part of that report, consideration of possibly someone that is friendly. Something like that.
Right, correct. Yeah, they should. We do them all the time. It's been pretty successful. I admit maybe some do off doors possible, but usually they're pretty
Cheaper than mail.
Yeah.
But you finish the computers.
Exactly.
We had a good turnout tonight.
It's the biggest turnout.
Yeah, it's better than most we've seen. Some meetings were like 5 people.
Yeah.
Some were like 25. Different community interest.
And I got a call from
Well, I'm a teacher, so I'm off right now. Otherwise, I go to bed. When I'm in school, I go to bed at 8:30, 9 o'clock. Coming to those meetings, sometimes it's too late. Stuff to do.
I'll direct it to my friend, so I think this one has a
Oh.
Sally. I gave her my direction. So if she gets called, it's just
No, actually,
The reason we're doing that here
had similar interests,
Now, in the garbage.
They're gonna have to check it every day at 4.
because I'm like,
Yeah, because.
there's a blinking light on my phone.
Is it French drain or is it? No, wait a second.
I don't know.
No, it's
So-
garbage, yeah.
What if we don't have
Your
current?
water's
I'll let it
goes
run.
front and back.
You know, I mean,
front,
it's just
the way
all
the
these
houses
little-
go. And so now,
Yes, no, yes, it is, yes. It's the parking slopes. It appears, I asked the question, between 50 and 60, that there wasn't no construction around. It looks like there is going to be, right? This means the start?
Sure.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so 16th.
I don't have a lot of time.
Okay, you had said 15.